family, welcome back to another video. I hope everybody is doing good. So today I'll be doing a long set, and my client is her birthday weekend and she's going out of town for her birthday. And as you guys know, she got to come to me to get her nails slayed. So let's jump right in the video. As you guys can see, I'm going in with my cuticle bit, just making sure I clean up all that new growth from the nails. You want to always make sure you come in either with your fine sanding band, which can be a 180 grit sanding band, or your cuticle bit, and you want to make sure you get all those cuticles off the nail, all that new growth, because if you do not, this is going to cause lifting. This is going to be like a barrier between your acrylic and the client's natural nail. So you want to make sure you have that nail nice and clean and ready for your acrylic application. Now I'm going to come in and I'm just going to go over my client's nail very light with my fine sanding band. Going from the right to the left, I am not applying too much pressure to my client's natural nail because I do not want to cause any lifting. So like I said before, I'm going from the right to the left and then over the surface of the nails, making sure I'm using my pinky finger to keep my hand stable. That way I have full control over my drill. You want to make sure you're not applying too much pressure because you don't want to burn your clients. Now I'm going to come in with my nipper. I'm just going to remove all that excess cuticle. I'm not giving her like a detailed manicure. I'm just coming in and I'm just going to remove like the obvious cuticle that might mess with my acrylic application, because sometimes if you leave all that cuticle there when you're going in with your cuticle bead, that can be in your way. Or if you're trying to do like a nice, neat polish, that can also be in the way. So you want to make sure you get rid of all the hanging cuticle. If you're not comfortable with cutting deep, just do like surface stuff. You don't have to give them like a detailed manicure, because I don't. So now I'm going to come in and I'm just going to dust my nail off, making sure my nail bed is nice and free of any dust. Coming in with my square tips, I'm just going to measure my tips, making sure they fit from sidewall to sidewall. You always want to make sure your tips are fitting from side to side. That way they have the full strength. If you have a nail tip that's too big and one that is too small, you always want to pick the bigger tip, because you can always come in with your hand file or your scissors and you can remove all the excess. But always go for the bigger tip. That way your nail will have the full strength and it will not break easily. These nail tips are available on my website. I have 3 different tips on my website. I have the square tips, the coffin tips, and I have curved tips. So whatever tips you're looking for, they're always going to be on my website, and every product I use in this video will be linked in the description box. Now I'm going to come in with my KDS glue and I'm going to apply the glue to the client's natural nail. Then I'm going to apply my tip, making sure I hold with a firm press for like 3-5 seconds, release it, and then the tip will be stick to the nail. Now you're going to come in and you're going to make sure that when you're gluing your tips on your client natural nail, you do not follow the nail in which the fingernail is going. You want to make sure that you follow the nail of the direction of the client's knuckles. That way you're going to glue your tips on straight. Whenever you're gluing your tips, you do not need to glue them halfway through the nail. You only need to glue your tips exactly at the free edge of your client's natural nail. Now I'm going to cut the nail according to my client's desired length, and then I'm going to measure the tips, making sure they are all on the same length. So I align the cuticles together. That way you're going to get the exact length that you want. So in order to get that, you have to put your cuticles next to each other. You can also use a tip cutter if you're not comfortable using a scissors, but I use a scissors and I love how it works for me. Now I'm going to cut the opposite hand and I'm just going to guesstimate the length. Usually I cut the second hand a little bit longer than the first hand. That way, if I need to fix anything, it's going to be on the second hand. You never want to do the second hand any shorter, because that only means that you're going to have to go back to the first hand and change the length, which is initially your client's desired length. Now I'm going to come in and I'm going to cut my shapes out. On the pinky finger, we did do a stiletto nail, and then on the rest of the fingers, I'm going to be doing coffin. So what I'm gonna say is I did use my square tips for this because, as you know, as usual, I'm always out of coffin tips. I do have coffin tips left on the website, but for some reason I never have any at the shop with me. So it would be much easier for you if you're doing coffin nail just to use coffin tips. But if you have square tips, you can always go ahead, use your square tips, come in with your scissors and pre-shape the nail, then come in with your hand file and finish all the detailed work. That's how I do it. Whenever I have a square tip, I come in, cut with my scissors, then I'm going to come in with my 100 grit hand file, and I'm just going to shape the rest of the nail, get everything nice and precise. One thing, I do not waste a lot of time on this part right here, because I'm still going to come back and I'm still going to do a lot of shaping after I apply my acrylic. But I do get my shape to a pretty decent look, the kind of close to the look that I'm going for, either exactly the look or close to the look. But I do not stress the shape too much in the beginning when I'm shaping the tips, because you can waste a lot of time doing this just to come back after your acrylic application and do the exact same thing, basically repeating your steps. But I do go ahead and I get my shape nice, almost close, looking how I'm satisfied, and then I proceed with my acrylic application. But I don't do neat and fine with magnifying mirror. I leave that until after I apply my acrylic. Finished shaping, I'm going to come in and I'm going to blend the tip to the client's natural nail. That way, whenever I'm applying my acrylic, everything is going to be nice and smooth. I always make sure I remove that part where the tip is connected to the nail. I never want to leave that ledge, because sometimes whenever I'm using a clear acrylic, you can see the ledge through it. Now I'm going to come in and I'm going to use my Young Nails Protein Bond. I'm going to apply 2 coats of Protein Bond. I've been using Young Nails Protein Bond for quite a while and it works pretty well. Whenever you're applying your Protein Bond or your primer, try not to oversaturate the nail, because this can also cause lifting. The first thing I do before I start working is put my brush in my monomer, making sure everything is nice and wet. You never want to work with a dry brush. You always want to make sure your brush is completely saturated. This is my number 12 brush, and it's going to be the link in the description box. I did go ahead and prep my hearts, everything that I'll be encapsulating in this design. They're off to the side, my glitters, and I'm going to be using bubble pink. I need my clear acrylic, and I need some white acrylic. The white that I'm using also, this is called coconut milk. So the three powders I'm going to be using today is bubble pink, Mia Secret Clear, and coconut milk. And I have some hearts and some glitters that I'm going to be encapsulating. On the pinky finger, we're going to be doing a ombre. So I'm going to come in with my first bead, place that where the tip and the natural nail meets, and I'm going to press and release the acrylic, making sure that the client's nail is facing downward. That way the acrylic is going to naturally flow to the tip of the nail. All I'm going to do is guide my acrylic and keeping my sides nice and clean. That way I keep the shape of the nail. Removing all excess acrylic that's flowing off the nail, go ahead and wipe that off in my paper towel. You always want to make sure you constantly wipe your brush as you work. That way you can have your brush for a longer period of time. And like I said, make sure you're cleaning up your sidewall and keeping your shape and making sure your acrylic is nice and flat. Now I'm going to come in and I'm going to be using bubble pink for the ombre. Making sure my brush is completely saturated, I'm going to tap towards the client and use the opposite side to pick your bead up. Place this bead just above the cuticle, then release it. You want to always make sure that there's no acrylic left on the client's skin, because this can also cause lifting and it's going to be very hard to remove. Whenever you're doing an ombre, you want to make sure you blend your bead while it's nice and wet. You never want to try blending a dry bead, because most times you can leave streaks behind and your transition is not going to be nice and flawless. So always try to blend your ombre bead whenever the bead is nice and wet. Always make sure that you have complete coverage around your side walls and your cuticle area. You do not want to leave any gap, open spaces where water can seep through and it's going to cause your nail to lift. Now I'm going to come in with my clear and I'm going to encapsulate my ombre. Whenever you do any types of ombre design or glitter and any type of encapsulated design, you always want to make sure you do so with a clear acrylic. That way when you come into file or any type of drilling, you're not going to be drilling directly into the design. On the middle finger, I'm going to be doing a one ball method coming from the cuticle. Place that cuticle bead just above the cuticle while the acrylic melts and naturally takes the shape of the nail bed. I'm just going to tap it and guide it in place. Then I'm going to blend the rest of it towards the tip, because I'm looking for a clear tip effect. So that way, that's why I start from the cuticle and then I'm just going to encapsulate with the clear. ring finger, I'm going to be doing another encapsulated design. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to place a thin wet bead of clear acrylic. Then I'm going to come in with my glitters, and I'm going to come in with some hearts and place this on the nail. Whenever you're working with any type of glitter or hearts, you want to work with wet acrylic. That way your bead will stick so much. Your acrylic, or not your acrylic, your glitter and your hearts will stick very fast. You don't want to work on a very dry surface, because that only means that the glitters and the hearts, they're going to be moving around. If the clear acrylic that you place down is already dry, you can always go back in your monomer, pick up a wet bead of clear and dab that on the nail, then place your glitters or any whatever encapsulation you're doing in the wet clear acrylic. But always try to work on the wet side, that way your encapsulations will stick properly. Whenever you're doing any types of encapsulated design, especially when you're working with clear, I oftentimes notice that I tend to build the nail a bit thicker than it needs to be. So whenever you're building clear nails, you have to be extremely careful, because you don't want to build the nail too thick. So you have to just continuously look at the nail from the side view, making sure you're applying the right amount of acrylic, because it's clear so you can see properly. So we tend to build the nail thicker than it really needs to be. the thumb, we're going to be doing a ombre design. You want to always make sure you flatten the back of your ombre. That way when you come in with your cover powder, you're not going to have a harsh line. So when I place the bead down, the first thing I do is make sure the back of the bead is nice and flat. That way when I come in with my pink, the white line is not going to be very harsh, and the pink is going to cover the white nice and easy without having to see that white through the pink. You're not supposed to see the white through the pink. Like, you're not supposed to see where the white starts through the pink. You're supposed to have a nice smooth transition. And of course, like I said before, with all ombre design, you need to come in with a clear and encapsulate that design. Now that we're done with our acrylic application, I'm just going to take a old file and go over the edges of my new file. That way I do not cut my client very easy. If you find that you're cutting your client, it can be that your hand file is too sharp. That's why it's slicing them. So all you need to do is come in with a old file and score the new file. Now I'm coming in and I'm just going to go over the shape. I did do a good job with my acrylic application, so I don't have a lot of work to do. So I'm just going to come in making sure everything is nice and neat. Coming in at a 90-degree angle, I'm going to make sure I hold my client's hand completely firm. And I'm going to also make sure that my hand file is connected to the nail from the sides to the tip of the nail. You always want to make sure your hand file is completely connected. You can always see the shape of your nail before you even start filing. Once you put that hand file up against the nail, you should already see your shape starting to form out. All you need to do is give this firm strokes and making sure you're getting underneath the nail as well, because sometimes the acrylic can leak under, or you have a tip that's hanging. So you need to make sure you get underneath the nail, because whatever that's under is going to reflect on top of the nail as well. You always want to make sure that your client's hand is completely relaxed. That way you can see what direction the nail is going. If their hand is stiff, you're not going to see the true shape of the nail, and you can possibly make the nail crooked. So always tell them to keep their hand completely relaxed. That way you can give them the best work. This nail is looking white because I sprayed it with alcohol, so it was burning and I had to spray it with alcohol. So like I said before, guys, if you're working on your client and they start to complain that their nail is burning, all you need to do is spray the nail with alcohol and then it's going to stop burning. Then I'm going to turn the client's hand to the client's view, making sure everything is nice and neat. Whenever I'm shaping, I always look at my client's hand from this view, because this is what they're going to be seeing for the next 3-4 weeks. So if you want to have a good view, see how your shape is looking, I always recommend that you turn your hand from the client's view. Now I'm going to come in with my medium drill bit. This drill bit is from Pana. If you're scared to get close to the cuticle with a drill bit like this, you can always go ahead and get the same Pana bit, but in the safety. That way it's not going to be as easy to cut your client. So whenever I'm drilling, I make sure my pinky finger is resting either on my hand or the client's hand, because that's going to help me to have full control over the drill. Then I'm going to go from the right to the left, making sure I seal my cuticles. You always want to make sure you seal your cuticle. That way your client's nail will not lift easily. Whenever you're drilling, you want to make sure that you keep moving your client's hand, moving your hand as well. You don't want to keep stressing your body, twisting and turning your body. You want to practice moving your client's hand in the position that you want it, and moving your hand also. That way you can have the best angle, so you could seal the nail properly and you can drill without cutting the clients or without hurting your hands. Whenever I am drilling, whenever I'm doing this part specifically, I'm usually at 20 to 21,000 RPMs. Whenever I'm prepping, I'm usually at 4 to 6,000 max RPMs. So for this segment, I'm at 20,000 or 21,000 RPMs. You can always start at whatever speed that you're comfortable with, but for me, I'm now at a 21,000, and like that I feel like I have full control over the drill. So start at the speed that you feel like you have control. I do most of my work with my drill. That way, whenever I'm done, I do not have a lot of work to do with the hand file. Practice how to use your drill. That way, you can save a lot of time, because I know we can be comfortable because we're scared of the drill. So we get comfortable with our hand files. But learning how to use your drill is really going to step your speed up, and it's going to save your arm and your hand some work. Learning how to use your drill is very, very, very important. Like, it's going to save you a lot of time. And if your hands hurt using a hand file, makes it even worse. You need to know how to use your drill. And I just feel like cuticle work is done way better with a drill. You're able to seal the cuticles better with a drill. And if you seal the cuticles, that means your clients, they're going to have no lifting. So you really need to just get on board, get a drill, start practicing, start, getting comfortable with going close to your cuticles. I hold my drill like I am writing. That's how I practice. So if you're having a problem, you can't get a grip of your drill, try to hold your drill like you're holding a pen. That's how I do it, and it works for me, and it's very comfortable. I'm done with all that, I'm just going to come in and I'm going to buff the nail. Then I'm going to dust the nails off, come in with alcohol and lint-free wipes and remove all that excess dust, clean up my work area, and get ready for the design. The glue that I'm using is the Macart glue. I'm going to leave the link in the description box. But whenever I'm doing any type of 3D design, which I'm about to do on the ring finger, I do my stones first, then I do my top coat, then I do my 3D work on top. The reason why I do my 3D work last is because usually whenever I do my 3D, then I put the top coat. The top coat seems to take away from the 3D look. So I just do my 3D. That's the last thing I do. So I'm just going to place these stones, and then I'm going to come in with some small gones caviar. I think that's the name of it. So I'm going to place this one, then I'm going to put the gold caviar, whatever the pronunciation of that is, around this, and then I'm going to come in and add my 3D flowers to it. Whenever I am doing my 3D flowers, I make sure that I'm not working with the bead while it's too wet. I let the bead set just a little bit, then I come in and I mold it to the look of the petal that I'm going for. So I'm going to sit that bead down, let it sit for a few seconds while I place this bead, and then I'm just going to come back to my first bead and I'm going to do my flowers. This 3D brush is from Glitterbels. I'm going to leave the link in the description box as well. But I do notice that when it's too dry, it's not good to carve your flowers. And when it's too wet, it's not good. I think the best time is just in between, like a good setting. going to come in and I'm going to place some stones at the cuticle of the pinky finger. I already placed my stone gel at the pinky, the pointer, and the thumb. Then I'm just going to come in with some rhinestones. I'm going to place that around the cuticle areas. And also on the pinky, I did put the little gold accent stones. I did put those just on the pinky since it didn't have too much going on for it. I didn't bother to put it on the pointer finger because I'm like, that already have the hearts in it and all that good stuff. So I just need to place only the rhinestones and that's going to do the job. Then on the middle finger, I'm going to do some clouds. And that's going to be the design. This design came out super cute. We did have Inspo pics though, and I just kind of like picked different design from different pictures and I put it together based on the look that she was going for. If you haven't liked this video as yet, guys, please go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel as yet, please consider doing so. Hit that subscribe button and also hit the notification bell to be notified whenever I post videos. For the clouds, I'm just going to use a dotting tool, place random marks on the nail, kind of make them like not uniform, nothing neat, just random, making sure I kind of put it like razzle dazzled a little bit, not neat, not no neat line. So clouds are very easy to draw. Just make like splashes on the nail, and then you're gonna come in with some acetone and a brush and just kind of like tap the effect in place like you're trying to get it to look, and that's it. Then I'm gonna add 2 butterflies to it. These thicker butterflies are available on my website, guys. I do have a lot of charms on my website. I have like Hello Kitty charms, I have the globe charms, I have butterfly stickers, all that good stuff. So as soon as you're done with this video, make sure you go ahead and head over to the description box and see what I got in store for you. So yeah, like I said, I just use the acetone and this brush, make sure everything is nice and blended, giving the cloud effect. Then I'm just gonna do this little dot, like a little star thing on the side. Then I'm gonna put the butterfly on using my nail art brush. I'm going to leave the link in the description as well for the nail art brush, and add the butterflies, and that's it. These came out super cute. I love it. She's in love with it. This set took me like 2 hours to get done, to be honest. 2 hours. And I think she also got a soak off. So with the soak off and this, it was probably like 2 hours and 45 minutes. Her cost, the price for this was like $175 for the soak off and the full set, because my soak off cost $15. So then the rest of that was for the nail. So yeah, after I apply my top coat, look how everything just came together. Super cute. So as you guys know, whenever I'm done applying my top coat, I do go in and I wipe the sides of my nail just to keep the shape, because sometimes the top coat leaks off to the side, and we did not put in all that hard work just to have the top coat spoil our shape. So I did go in and I wipe the sides, making sure the shape is nice and neat. that's the final results, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being a part of 876 Nails. Until next time, bye.